Let's talk gender. You're born male or female. End of story. Right? Well, maybe not. Intersex people are individuals who are born with any of several sex characteristics, including chromosome patterns, gonads, or genitals that don't fit typically with binary notions of male or female bodies. The United Nations Human Rights Commission estimates that up to 1.7% of people are born intersex, i.e. they're born with sex characteristics such as sexual anatomy, reproductive organs, hormonal patterns and or chromosomal patterns that don't fit this typical binary notion of male and female. So these are not always clearly visible characteristics either. Sometimes they include hormonal and or chromosomal patterns, which we can't actually see. 1.7% they estimate. Well, let's say that the percentage is as low as 1%. That would mean that there are about 80 million people who were born intersex who are alive today. It's probably more. 80 million people. Many probably go undetected, especially if they don't have visible characteristics. To put this into some kind of perspective, about 0.7% of people are estimated to have autism. About 0.1 to 0.2% of the population has Parkinson's disease. 1, maybe 1.7% of the population is born intersex. Among those who are born with genitals of both sexes, perhaps in some cases rudimentary, many have been subjected to surgery early on in childhood and assigned a gender. In 2015, the magazine Cosmopolitan reported a story in which a 37-year-old man with blood in his urine, concerned that he might have bladder cancer, was informed that he in fact had a fully functioning set of female reproductive organs. Surprise, surprise! He has normal XY chromosomes and normal male external genitalia. The blood he was experiencing in his urine was from his period. He could potentially, in fact, get pregnant. In this case, he opted for a hysterectomy. During an operation to correct a hernia, doctors discovered that a 70-year-old man actually had a uterus. Now the presence of female genitalia in an otherwise apparently male person is called type 1 male form of persistent Müllerian duct syndrome. Got that? Type 1 male form of persistent Müllerian duct syndrome. The uterus and fallopian tubes are derived from a structure called the Müllerian duct during the development of the fetus. Now, this usually breaks down during the early development of males, but it's retained in those with persistent Müllerian duct syndrome. So, guys, we all have the potential to have a uterus. Some babies are born with ambiguous genitalia, not completely formed. It's not clear which gender they are. Some people are born with something called androgen insensitivity syndrome, AIS for short. Those with complete AIS have genitals that appear female. Those with partial AIS may have genitals that appear either male or female. People with AIS have XY chromosomes, but their body doesn't respond to testosterone, so they develop female genitalia, or their male genitalia don't form properly. Most children with complete AIS are raised girls, despite the fact that they have XY chromosomes. The South African athlete Caster Semenya, Olympic gold medalist, has the intersex condition called 5-alpha reductase 2 deficiency. She has natural testosterone levels in the typical male range, although she was assigned female gender at birth. She has XY chromosomes. Semenya has said that she was born with a vagina and internal undescended testes, but she has no uterus or fallopian tubes and doesn't menstruate. Her internal testes produce natural testosterone levels in the typical male range. I say she and her because she regards herself as a different type of female. Although we're inclined to assign a male gender to those with XY chromosomes and a female gender to those with XX chromosomes, it's clear that things are not quite that straightforward. It's clear that some people with XY chromosomes can actually appear to be female at birth, and some are born with both sets of genitalia. This is because what genitalia you happen to be born with is not determined only by which chromosomes you happen to have. To quote from an article in the journal Hippocratia, published in 2007, in addition to the Y chromosome, a multitude of other genes influence sex determination and are able to cause male to female sex reversal and vice versa. It's of great interest that these genes are located in more than one autosomal chromosome or even in the X chromosome. So, maybe the male-female dichotomy is not quite so clear-cut as some people would like to make out. Just saying. And this just concerns the external appearance of what we call gender. If things can go wrong, and please note that I place that in quotes, the extent to which these various conditions become problematic will vary from person to person. So let's just say, if the formation of something as obvious and visible as genitalia is far more complicated than we like to think, could it not be that other things that we associate with the standard binary gender model might also be more complicated? Much more complicated, in fact. The type of genitalia we possess, even the chromosomes we possess, are not sufficient for determining what we call gender, even at the physical level. And this only concerns those visible bits. Well, sometimes visible. Be careful who you show your genitalia to. Imagine what goes on internally, psychologically, emotionally. There's no reason to think that our internal sense of self is any more black and white, any more clear-cut than the external appearance of our genitalia. I'm just saying.